So, Misty, is this normal for a judge 20 years later to be setting all of these hearing dates, or is this just in and of itself a huge win for Scott Peterson?
I actually think it's pretty normal. So these are hearing dates where everyone will submit briefs on the critical issues. The first is whether or not there's going to be further DNA testing and retesting of these items. The second, what items are going to be turned over from the investigation, the trial, and then the third, can they actually do post-conviction discovery. So the legal arguments are going to be in these briefs, and then the judges make a determination.
But Jesse, if every person who was convicted 20 years ago was making motions, say, I'd like new evidence tested, and judge was setting all sorts of trial dates, the courts would be filled with these kinds of cases. So it seems to me that it's not completely normal that someone who's exhausted all their appeals is basically saying, oh, you know what, now I want evidence tested. And they haven't presented anything, in my view, of new evidence.
So a couple things there. They would be saying, look, normally all the evidence is there. A big argument they're saying is we never saw any of this, and we need to be handed over this material. And by the way, in California, generally speaking, courts are open to handing over this evidence back or forcing prosecutors to turn it over. It's a separate question if it's going to go anywhere. Because unless they find Lacey's DNA on that mattress, a lot of this feels like them saying this was a faulty investigation, there might be other evidence to look at. It might not even rise to the level where he needs a new trial.
Caitlin, do you see this as a win, or is this just a neutral so far?
I mean, I think it's very expected of Scott Peterson. I mean, this is a man who has been declaring his innocence for forever. And I feel like this is another Hail Mary attempt to distract the public and to, continue to maintain that innocence. But I think we're going to find nothing. I think it's a total waste of time. And it's offensive to Lacey and her entire family for putting them through
But he has this whole community of people who are totally supportive of his innocence. Not just family members, but now these online groups, et cetera, convinced that Scott Peterson was wronged here.
Yeah, and we know that he wasn't. I mean, the evidence is so overwhelming.
Well, here's the piece of evidence that is the most overwhelming, right? People talk about the affair that he had with this woman named Amber Fry, right? And the way to dismiss it is to say, oh, he got convicted because he was having an affair, right? No. Let's listen. This is the phone call between Scott Peterson and Amber Fry. When this is afterwards, he's now at her memorial service, et cetera. He's not just lying about where he is, all right? He had previously told her his wife was gone. This is before she dies. This is the conversation that they had.
I deserve to understand an explanation of why you told me you'd lost your wife and this was the first holidays you'd spend without her. That was December 9th. You told me this, and now all of a sudden your wife's missing? Are you kidding me? Did you hear me?
I did. I can't now. I mean, you don't understand. You don't understand the situation.
Then why don't you fill me in on the situation and make me understand?
I can't now. I'm so sorry for that.
Why?
It's to protect all of us.
You cannot discuss this case without playing that piece of tape. I mean, literally, I don't think you can fairly discuss the evidence without playing that piece.
You know what that reminds me of? That makes me feel that's a guy who's going to, when he's 51 years old, going to grow a ponytail. That's what that signifies to me.
Everyone's talking about the ponytail.
Yeah,
well, but let's be clear about that. So now we're supposed to believe that the burglars committed the crime. Is he protecting the burglars?
So lucky.
Why is he lying?
No, the burglars who iced Lacey's body after they killed her to figure out where he's going to say he was, were so lucky that Scott Peterson had told the woman he was having an affair with before that his wife was gone.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what these guys are the luckiest burglar killers ever?
And great, he switched up his alibis. He's not being honest with them about Amber Fry. They must have loved it. That's the problem.
Well, and that's what an issue on appeal, right? Because even if there is additional evidence, there's information that comes out of these motions and out of this, unless it's really, really dispositive, and I agree with you, Jesse, I think unless her DNA is on this mattress when it's retested, this is dead in the water.
As a defense attorney, are you offended that the LA Innocence Project has even taken this case? Because I am.
Yeah.
I'm not a defense attorney, but I'm offended.
I did feel that way, especially since we know the standard is, hey, it actually has to matter if you're going to present this evidence on appeal. It has to be substantially likely that it would result in a different outcome.
And here's the theory that they're using. And this is John Buehler again. This is the investigator who worked on the case. I spoke with him this week. Here he is talking about it's what it seems the new theory is. This is number 2.
They're trying to infer that somebody had duct taped them, used some rope or twine or something to restrain them, things like that. But the only problem that we run into when it comes to that is it doesn't match with the condition of the bodies. The drastic difference between Lacey's body and Connor's body, which is consistent with being in the water for 4 months. There is a lot of trash in the bay, whether it comes off of a sport boat, a fishing boat, a commercial boat, or a liner that's coming into the bay. There's a lot of stuff floating around in there, and there's a lot of stuff on the beach.
Caitlin.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.